discuss the parotid gland. So parotid word derived from parallel to otid. Otid means ear. So it lies just as the ear is vertical, so this gland is also parallel, it is also vertical. So that is what you know. Anybody asks you what is the meaning of the parotid? Parallel to the otid or the ear. And this is the largest salivary gland out of the submandibular, sublingual, and this is the largest. So we will discuss this parotid gland under the headings of: number one is the morphology, then comes the parotid fascia, third will be coming the relations, and then comes the its nerve supply, and last is the applied. So morphology means weight, size, surfaces and borders. So any question asked about the morphology means shape, size, maybe thyroid gland, maybe small or large. So the shape of the gland is, parotid gland is pyramidal shape. It is triangular in shape. Pyramid has got a apex and the base. The pyramid of the Egypt. Certain organs in the human body, they resemble the Egypt pyramid, so we are using the pyramid word in many forms. But it is inverted pyramid. Apex lies downward and base lies upward. That you have to see. And it lies situation. So it lies below the zygomatic arc, parallel to the ear, but below the zygomatic arc. On the face, so base is the upward and below is the apex. So it is inverted pyramidal shape organ, and it weight about 25 grams, 25 gram of the weight. And regarding its surfaces, so it has got two surfaces. One is called the lateral or superficial surface that we touches here. If we touches, this is the lateral or the superficial surface of the parotid gland, and below is the deep or what is called medial surface. So these are the two surfaces. And regarding the borders, so it has got three borders: anterior border, posterior border, and third is the medial border. So this anterior border facing the face, and it lies over the masseter muscle. So as you know, masseter muscle take origin from the zygomatic arc and the zygoma, bone of the zygomatic. So this is the origin of the masseter muscle. So it overlies the masseter muscle. And from its anterior border comes out its parotid duct. So anterior border is related to the masseter muscle and the parotid duct, along with the upper buccal and lower buccal branches of the facial nerve. So these are the structures in relation to the anterior part. So this parotid duct runs over the masseter muscle, and when we clench our teeth, we can roll this duct. It is quite thick, and this duct is 5 centimeters long and runs obliquely on the face from the anterior border of the muscle as well as the anterior border of the gland. So it is related to anterior border of both the gland as well as the muscle. And where it opens? Anybody? Where it opens? Where it opens, the parotid duct? First is the length. What is the length of the parotid duct? It is 5 centimeters long or 2 inches. And where it opens? Against in the oral cavity, because saliva has to go into the oral cavity, so it opens into the mucosa of the oral cavity, but against which molar tooth? That is important. Against which molar tooth? Anybody? It opens against upper second molar tooth. Underline it. Upper second molar tooth. Maxillary. This is the first molar, this is the second, and behind is the third molar tooth, upper one, that is attached to the maxilla. So there you have to be very precise about what is parotid duct. 5 centimeters in length, and where is the opening? Upper second molar tooth. So it opens into the oral cavity, but before it goes, so it lies superficially just below the skin. It has to go inside the oral cavity. So there are 4 obstacles which it has to pass, then it will be inside. So these are the structures piercing or pierced by the parotid duct. And they all luckily start from alphabet B. So 4 B's you have to remember, and sequence is very important. So it lies outside. The first B which it pierces to go inside is the B for anybody? 4 B's. First is the buccopharyngeal fascia or something else. Anybody? First is the buccal pad of fat, because it lies in the superficial fascia. And I have told you, this is called baby fat. It is very much abundant in the babies, newborn babies. So fat is everywhere in the superficial. but it is more abundant near the angle of the mouth. So it is a pad of the fat here. It is called the baby fat because it is more in the babies, and in the old time it has been said that this pad was used for the suckling of the breast milk. But nowadays new research has found that this is not the case. This doesn't help in the suckling the breast milk, but the buccinator muscle help. So this is the buccal pad of the fat, is the first obstacle it pierces. The buccal pad of fat by the parotid gland, parotid duct. It pierces from the gland. Then the second obstacle which comes to obstruct, second B stand for buccopharyngeal fascia. Buccopharyngeal fascia. Face doesn't have got the D fascia, but the buccinator muscle is covered by the, because it takes origin from the pterygomandibular raphe. And from the posterior part of the anterior part, buccinator muscle take origin, and from the posterior part of this raphe is the origin of superior constrictor muscle of the pharynx. So there is a common fascia for the buccinator and pharynx muscle of the pharynx, that is superior constrictor. Later on we will do the pharynx. So this combined fascia is called the buccopharyngeal fascia. So every muscle is covered by a fascia. So it is the buccopharyngeal fascia is the another fascia. And number 3B for buccinator muscle. Buccinator muscle. And which fibers of buccinator? Horizontal. So horizontal fibers of the buccinator muscle, it pierces. So when we remove in the dissection the buccal pad of fat, below which what we find below? Buccopharyngeal fascia. When we remove this fascia, the third obstacle what we find is the horizontally running fibers of buccinator muscle we have done. The upper fibers and lower fibers, they cross near the angle of the mouth. The lower fibers from pterygomandibular go to the upper lip, and upper fibers they go to the lower lip. So our lips contain not orbicularis oris muscle, underline it, buccinator fibers. Buccinator muscle, orbicularis is only around the lips, it doesn't go into the lips. So this is the what we muscle horizontally, so it runs into it. And what I have told you already when we do the buccinator, what is this mechanism is called while chewing the food? Pinch and cock mechanism. Then you have to write down the pinch and cock mechanism whenever a question of the parotid duct comes or buccinator comes. Note may come on the parotid duct also. So you have to fill 3 pages only on the parotid duct. 3 pages answer should be there with the diagram of this and this both. And last B stand for buccal mucosa. As your college is very near to which school? Which school is opposite to your corner? 4S school. Who are local in the Amritsar, they know what is 4S school. Anybody from Amritsar, raise hand. From Amritsar, what is 4S school is there? So 4S, you require to remember 4 B's whenever a parotid duct comes. So ultimately, when you open your mouth in front of the mirror, what you see, your mouth is red from inside. What is this red? Buccal mucosa. Mucous membrane, your internally it is all lined by the mucosa. So ultimately, the buccal mucosa is there. So you can make this diagram also, and you have to label everything. Parotid duct, buccal pad of fat, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So both the diagrams you have to make. More diagram, more marks you will get. 2, 3, 4 diagrams, the examiner will be very, very happy. So practice all the time diagram and bring color pencil. I have told you first day in the lecture theatre. Right now here, what colors I am using, same you use. You don't mistake in the final exam. Otherwise you will make the yellow color veins and blue color nerves. You get 0 marks. So this is how the parotid duct is there. So pinch and cock mechanism. What is pinch and cock mechanism? Cock, मुर्गे नु चुंडी वड्डो की बोलेगा cock. Then again pinch, cock, cock. So this is called pinch and cock mechanism. As we are chewing the food, muscle is contracting, relaxing, and parotid duct is pressing, released. So there is a drop by drop addition of the saliva into mouth. This is called pinch and cock mechanism. That's why God has passed the parotid duct obliquely into the muscle fibers of buccinator to regulate the saliva whichever we want requirement. When we are chewing the food, more requirement. So that is called pinch and cock. It is not given in your book. Who will write it will get the maximum marks. Whenever a buccinator muscle note comes or parotid duct comes. Or in the viva if you say this thing. So this is the duct where it opens. Now what is the applied of the parotid duct? Then relations of parotid duct, you know what is the relation of parotid duct? It passes over the masseter muscle, and above it what passes? We have done upper buccal and lower buccal branch of facial nerve is in relation. And sometime in some people a pyramidal process, a pyramidal shape of the triangular shape or pyramidal shape, the additional parotid tissue may be found on the masseter muscle between the zygomatic arc and the parotid duct. Above the parotid duct, a small triangular glandular tissue may be found. This is called the pyramidal lobe of the pyramid. Small triangular lobe detached from the main gland may be found. It is because of the developmental embryological basis of the parotid tissue. So that you have to write down the relations. Now below this duct and anterior to the masseter muscle, as we know, what lies here? Facial vein. And anterior to the facial vein, what lies? Tortuous facial artery. So you can make this in relation. Below the duct passes this. This is branch inferior labial to the lower lip, and superior labial supply the upper lip, and the buccinator muscle branches is the upper labial, superior labial branch. So this is the relation to the full diagram whenever a question of the parotid duct or parotid gland comes. So make in a full page diagram, and this minded. So whenever you are attempting the question, never make the diagram and the written material on the same page. Wherever you are making diagram, nothing to be written except the labeling. Don't make it. So this is the relation. And what is the applied? As parotid duct releases the saliva drop by drop, that is the pinch and cock mechanism. In the oral cavity, any food particle can go into the duct because it is open in the oral cavity. So especially non-veg people, small piece of the bone of the fish or any non-veg, they are more liable to go into this. Any hard, maybe the seed of the guava or sometimes the seed of the tomato, which is flattened and sticky, may go inside, slips into the parotid duct, and it goes deep inside, and later on it is calcified. Calcium deposition will be there. It undergo fibrosis. Chemicals will be added to it, and slowly it will convert into a stone. So this is called the stone in the parotid duct. That is called the silithiasis. Sil means parotid gland. Silithiasis means stone. So this condition is called sil means salivary gland. They are called sil. And lithiasis means lithotripsy. Litho means stone removal from the kidney. You might have heard lithotripsy. Litho means stone. So stone is formed in the parotid duct, and it can be felt when patient can feel it whenever he will wash the face, and there may be swelling is there because it is just lie below the skin, and patient can feel it, and patient can roll it. So that is the, and what will be the ill effect? There will be obstruction to the outflow of the saliva. So simple. So saliva won't come from here because stone is obstructing it. So what the patient will come with the complaint of? Dryness of the mouth of right side or left side, depending upon. Dryness of the half of the mouth. Half is wet, half is dry. So it gives an unpleasant feeling. Then the doctor, he will approach the doctor. And we will see that there is a stone is there. And subsequently, number one complaint will be, what are the signs and symptoms? Xylithiasis, dryness of mouth, unilateral, one-sided. Secondly, enlargement of parotid gland will be enlarged because saliva is now collecting in the acini. It will swell up. So enlargement of the one gland, other is normal. So face will be asymmetrical face. When the patient looks in the morning in the front of the mirror, he will see what is the difference of my face. So that you have to write down, the xylithiasis. And what is the treatment? Treatment is surgical. It lies just below the skin. So we just make a nick or a small cut over the skin, the duct, and we remove the gland, and again we re-stitch the skin as well as the duct. So that is the simple surgical treatment. So that we have to write down 3-4 pages whenever a question of parotid duct comes. So now you are giving the written substages. So try all the tricks I am telling you, and we will see how much score you will get and who is the maximum scorer in the class. And we will see the copies and show the copies of that maximum scorer to the minimum scorer of the student. You can check your own answer sheets when the result is declared of every test, so that you should know where is my fault. Because we have mentioned in every answer what is written or what is not written. So go through them and demand your answer sheets back. And again you give back to the table tutor. So this is the gland. So second we call the parotid fascia. So parotid fascia, parotid gland has got two capsules like the thyroid gland. It has got two capsules. One is the outer and one is the inner. So two capsules are there. One is the false capsule, other is the true capsule. Exactly what you have done in the thyroid gland. So outer one is called the false capsule, and inner one is called the, so outer and the inner. So inner one is called true capsule. Why is it called true? Because it develops with the gland. So development with the tissue of the gland, so it gives the trueness, and it is also very adherent to the gland surface. And outer one is the false. It's a false capsule. Why it is called false? Because it is formed by the condensation of the deep cervical fascia we have done when we were doing the face. So it is derived from the stylomandibular ligament. It is derived from stylomandibular ligament, and this fascia, the outer one, is from the deep cervical fascia. It has got two layers, outer and inner. So where the parotid gland is there, so deep fascia comes from the neck, has got the deep fascia. From the angle of the mouth, this fascia goes to the tip of the styloid process. This is called stylomandibular ligament. It is derived from the deep fascia of the neck, like this. So deep fascia of the neck is there, so it is from the angle of the mouth, it goes upward and get attached deep to it. So this is how the deep fascia is derived from. So when it comes from the neck to the face, it is divided into two laminas, anterior layer and posterior layer. Because the inner one is the true capsule. So you have to make this diagram also whenever you have to explain the parotid fascia. So it is derived from the stylomandibular ligament, and two lamina. The anterior lamina is thick, posterior lamina is thin, and anterior lamina is attached to the lower border of the zygomatic arc. Have we done this thing earlier or no? And the posterior lamina is thin, and where it is attached? To the external acoustic meatus and tympanic part of temporal bone. Temporal bone of temporal bone. And there is a small or slight collection of the fat in between the two. So this is how the gland is there. So this diagram shows the outer one is the fascia, that is the true, and inner one false, and inner one is the true fascia. Now the deep surface of the gland, it has got relations. So relations of the parotid gland. So parotid gland is related to three structures: one artery, vein, and the nerve. Nerve, you know, is the seventh nerve. Vein is the retromandibular vein, and artery is the external carotid artery. So three structures you have to remember: vein, artery, and nerve. And what is superficial and what is deep, that is important. So artery is the deepest. Then comes the vein, which is intermediate, and nerve is superficial in position, that you have to remember. So artery is the deep in position, vein is intermediate, and nerve is superficial. So whenever a question of the relations comes, then you have to make the three diagrams, each for artery, vein separately. Don't make the diagram which has given in your book. Everything is in one diagram, kacha macha sara, you don't know. So all are related to which surface? Medial surface. Medial surface is posteromedial. So this is how to make the medial surface of the diagram of the parotid gland. Everybody should make this diagram. In the exam you have to make like this. It's very easy to make. It's softy you eat. Consider your softy, make the three softies. So this was the outer or the lateral surface, and from this is the anterior border. That is how to label it. This is the base, this is the apex of the gland. This is the posterior border. How the anterior border is identified? By the presence of parotid duct. Where the duct is there, this is the anterior opposite to the posterior. And this is the lateral surface, which is this surface from anterior border to posterior border, is the deep or the medial surface. And medial surface divided into two parts, anteromedial and posteromedial, by a border. What is this border is called? Medial border. So three borders: anterior border, posterior border, and medial border of the gland. So medial border of the gland divides the medial surface into anteromedial and, so this is a very important step. What is anteromedial? What is posteromedial? So this is always confusing. Now clear it right now. Is it clear to everybody? Medial surface start from anterior border to posterior border. Lateral surface start from anterior border to posterior border. And the medial surface I am touching, this is the whole of the medial surface. Medial surface has got a border, that is called the medial border, because this is raised like this. And this medial border, where it is present? Parallel to the ramus of the posterior border of the ramus of mandible. So whatever gland is present behind it and touching the styloid process, stylomandibular ligament, and the ramus of the mandible, which is not touching the ramus, which is touching the ramus of the mandible, is the anteromedial surface, anterior one. And posterior one, which is not touching the ramus of the mandible and lies behind the posterior border of the ramus, will be labeled as posteromedial. Both the artery, veins, and nerves, they are go and exit from posteromedial surface, and you have to make it like this. So first we have done the nerve, we have already done, and we know how the nerve goes into the posterior medial surface, enters here and divided into two branches. What is? Temporofacial and cervicofacial. We have done it. And the temporofacial will further divide into temporal and zygomatic. And cervicofacial will divide into superficial and deep branch, into upper buccal and lower buccal. And then it divides into two branches, marginal mandibular and cervical. So this diagram we have repeated in the gland, in the facial nerve also and here also. Is it clear? So this is the exact diagram we have to make. The most superficial part of the gland lies the just below the lateral surface we are touching is the nerve come first. Then intermediate is the vein. And how the vein is formed? By the joining of superficial temporal vein and a vein comes from the medial surface of the neck of mandible, that is maxillary vein, and on the posterior medial surface retromandibular vein. Retro means behind. So this is the neck of the mandible. I have said the neck of the mandible is related to three structures: maxillary vein, maxillary artery and auriculotemporal nerve. So this is from the root of the zygomatic. From the scalp, which vein is coming? Superficial temporal vein. It goes inside the dotted means it has to go inside the gland. So this nerve is superficial and divide the gland into two parts, superficial and deep part. I have told you two slices of bread. And what is butter or the jam is the facial nerve. So it is like this. So superficial part or lateral surface, this is the deep or medial surface. And where lies the nerve? Inside the sandwich. So this is the isthmus, like the isthmus of the thyroid gland. So the facial nerve divide the gland into superficial part and deep part. Is it clear? So this is. And where lies the vein? Here. And where is the artery? Superficial. So this is the relation. So superior superficial surface has got no artery, vein and nerve. So a surgeon can remove the parotid gland in the cancer of the parotid gland. Superficial part can be easily removed. Nothing will be damaged. So it is a very important step for the surgery in the cancer surgeon to remove the gland in the cancer of the parotid gland. Only in deep surface has to be saved because it contains vein and artery and nerve. So that has to be. And nerve also has to be saved, because otherwise patient will suffer from Bell's palsy post-operatively. So this is the vein. Retromandibular vein enters and then it traverses into the gland inside, and just below the near the apex it will divide into anterior division and posterior division. So anterior division comes out near the apex, and this is the posterior division. So you have to make this diagram and label it. Superficial temporal vein, this is the maxillary vein, and this is the retromandibular vein. This is the anterior division, posterior division. Then last comes the external carotid artery. So external carotid artery comes from the neck into the gland, and it lies in a groove near the apex. So it enters near the apex, and there is a groove for the external carotid artery in the lower part of the gland. So you know it comes from the external carotid artery has got 8 branches. Out of the 8, the facial artery is 1. The lingual artery you have done. Now after giving the branches, now the external carotid artery now enters deep to the apex of the parotid gland, and it lies in a groove already made, and where the groove ends, now artery goes deep into the gland. Dotted means it is now inside the gland. And inside the gland it divided into two branches. Horizontal is the maxillary artery and another is the superficial temporal artery, which is tortuous, again supplies the scalp. Anesthetic artery, tortuous, so it comes out of the posterolateral surface, posteromedial surface. Dotted means it is inside. So inside the gland divided into two branches. So that you have to make correctly the diagram of how it is related to the artery. So superficial, intermediate and deep position. So three diagrams is a must whenever a question of the parotid gland comes. Nerve supply we have already done. Same aortic ganglion we have covered it, parotid branch and how the secretomotor pathways go start from the medulla, inferior salivary nucleus, tympanic branch, tympanic plexus on the promontory of the middle ear, then lesser petrosal nerve, foramen ovale, aortic ganglion, two roots of the auriculotemporal, jump into them, go into parotid duct and into parotid branch. They are secretomotor fiber. So that you have to again repeat here. That is nerve supply. The applied is we have already discussed. So applied means they are related to mumps, very common in the children, is a viral infection, maybe bilateral or unilateral, and because parotid fascia is adherent to the gland, so any enlargement of the gland is very painful. So that you have to write down in the painful condition. Then cancer of the pancreas. So cancer is a uncontrolled growth of any tissue of the human organ. So when the growth is uncontrolled, nerve, artery and vein will be damaged. And damage lead to the artery vein bleeding inside the gland. Parotid fascia is closely adherent. The artery and blood cannot spread it. The patient feel pain. Damage to the nerve lead to the Bell's palsy. So these are the common sense. You can write your own. That when the artery or vein is damaged, what will happen? When nerve will damage, what will happen? So this is how to attempt the all questions and all the 5 fingers and 5 headings under the question can be asked. So that's all. Next part we'll do at 1 o'clock.